Imagine creating an evil version of yourself, a dark alter ego that you claim commits crimes, while you play detective trying to solve them. Creepy, right? Well, that's exactly what David described about himself. And when you hear how closely this twisted fantasy lines up with a disturbing case of a missing young girl named Celeste, it raises a terrifying question. Did David's imagination spill over into real life?
And I had the idea to kind of make this first music video introduce a character that I had been kind of ideating for a really long time. That's why you see him with the blindfold and the bloody shirt aesthetic and the bow tie. I'm really big into anime and I'm really big into manga, and I wanted to make my own manga series at one point, and I was writing a lot of poems and writing a lot of things for it. And a big part of that manga was an evil version of me named Itami, which means pain in Japanese, and he wears his blindfold and he's basically an agent of chaos and kind of my alter ego. And the story of the manga went like I was a detective and there was an evil version of myself that would kind of come out at random moments, kind of like Fight Club with Tyler Durden. And he would commit the crimes that I would have to solve as the detective. So like when I was as the detective, I'd be like solving murders that I'm committing myself. And it was like a cool little story. I didn't think anything would come of it. Like it was in the vault for like months and months and months. And I introduced it for the first time on screen because I had the opportunity with music to kind of explore this idea further with the Romantic Homicide music video. And people were asking so many questions. I was like, yo, this is kind of fire, because like nobody would have ever heard of it if it wasn't for this music video. But Itami was a staple of this music video. You kind of see him throughout the entire thing. He's holding the knife with the bloody thing. You get the girl who's basically like the ghost of the person that he killed. It was his first victim in the manga. And I put that all on screen, and me and Itami had a great time just like chopping it up and getting to kind of merge creative ideas on the entire thing. And the Bloody Rose aesthetic was birthed in that music video as well, and kind of me representing my entire artistry through this rose, which is like beautiful things can hurt you, with the stems having thorns on them. And that became my entire aesthetic for like the rest of time. I kind of still, even to this day, use that bloody rose to kind of show how beautiful things can hurt you, even through music. Like music is very beautiful, but it can also hurt you with the lyrics, or, you know, make you think about certain things in your own life.
Because what investigators and fans online are uncovering paints a picture far darker than anyone expected. Hidden relationships, shocking messages, rumors of pregnancy, and music that seems to tell the whole story years in advance. This case has left people stunned, and some believe it's only a matter of time before the truth finally comes out. David didn't just write songs. He built a persona around darkness. He often spoke about his evil twin, an alter ego who acted out the darkest impulses, while David himself claimed he was just documenting it. At first, it seemed like harmless artistry, just another edgy musician trying to stand out. But the more you hear, the more sinister it becomes. Fans began to question whether this wasn't just an act, because this so-called alter ego seemed to line up disturbingly well with events happening in real life, as if his fiction was actually hiding confessions in plain sight. And the first signs of that came through his connection with a mysterious girl named Celeste. Celeste wasn't just another name in his fanbase. Screenshots revealed she had a direct, personal connection with David. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a fan and artist interaction. But quickly, the details got unsettling. In private chats, Celeste described herself as being much younger than people realized. She hinted at being only 13. Then came even more disturbing claims. She admitted to being a missing person. And in later posts, she said she was pregnant, due in March 2025. These weren't isolated comments. They were scattered across multiple accounts linked to her. And fans who pieced them together couldn't ignore the possibility that her story was directly tied to David's life, and maybe even his music. The more screenshots surfaced, the harder it became to dismiss it as random internet noise. This wasn't just a fan theory anymore, it was turning into a timeline. The real turning point came when Discord chats linked to Celeste's deleted account began spreading online. These weren't vague references, they were direct statements. Celeste explicitly called herself a missing person. She referenced being pregnant, even giving dates. And her conversations often circled back to David. One screenshot showed her describing herself as 13. Another connected her pregnancy directly to interactions with David. Individually, the posts might have been easy to doubt. But together, they formed a disturbing pattern that fans couldn't ignore. What made it all worse was how closely these messages matched up with David's music. Lyrics that once sounded abstract now read like journal entries. And fans began asking the chilling question, were these songs really just fiction, or were they telling the story of Celeste all along? When investigators of this case turned to David's music, things went from strange to downright chilling. Because his songs didn't just reflect vague emotions, they echoed the timeline of Celeste's disappearance almost too perfectly. One example is the track Romantic Homicide. In it, he sings about a girl who's gone, about grief and silence, about not hearing her voice anymore. At first, fans thought it was just dark teenage poetry. But after Celeste's story came to light, many began asking if it was a coded reference to her. Then there was Here With Me, a softer song about love and devotion. To some, it painted a picture of the bond he shared with Celeste. And yet, just months later, he dropped darker material, filled with imagery of death, loss, and guilt. The shift wasn't subtle. It was like watching a story unfold through his discography. Even the timing was unnerving. Songs that hinted at loss appeared not long after the messages, where Celeste admitted to being missing. Lyrics about pregnancy and heartbreak surfaced right around the period when she claimed she was expecting. The overlaps were impossible to ignore. Fans began to wonder, were these tracks just art imitating life, or was David leaving breadcrumbs in plain sight? Because if the lyrics were even half as personal as they seemed, they might be holding secrets about what really happened behind closed doors. And the strangest part? The story wasn't over yet. Because while the songs hinted at tragedy, what happened in real life left fans questioning everything they thought they knew. Of course, no official confirmation has ever tied David directly to her death. But online, speculation spread like wildfire. Was this just a tragic coincidence? Or was the music telling a story nobody wanted to believe? But even without official charges, the backlash grew. Every cryptic lyric, every haunting post, every interview where David played up his dark persona, it all started looking like pieces of a much bigger puzzle. For some, it was impossible to listen to his songs without hearing confessions buried between the lines. And while the debates raged on, one thing became clear. Whether guilty or not, David was no longer just an artist. He had become the center of a true crime mystery that blurred the line between reality and performance. But if David really wasn't involved, then who was responsible for what happened to Celeste? A body simply does not just show up decomposed inside an abandoned Tesla. At the end of the day, this case still leaves us with more questions than answers. Each lyric feels like a puzzle piece, and the picture it paints is darker than anyone could have imagined. We'll be sure to keep you guys in the loop of the latest. Until then, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out.